Whoa, guess who just happened upon the most important video of their life? This guy, what's up? Oh, congratulations. Oh, you found the most impactful video that you're ever going to see in your whole life. Congratulations. Welcome to the party. This is Neuro-Linguistic Programming. How to program yourself using your imagination to become the absolute peak, top tier version of yourself. I guarantee you're gonna love the way you look. Like this is men's warehouse out here. You're putting on a new self-concept that suits you. Welcome to the game. I'm Justin Trent, life coach, NLP expert extraordinaire, lover of life. Now, we're going to go into certain principles of what you think about yourself, the different aspects of yourself, and the way that it's represented within your imagination. And without further ado, here we go. Ideally, when you're living in alignment with your self-concept and you love yourself, and we're practicing kindness and compassion for yourself as well as others, you renounce your vices, whether it be nicotine, marijuana, alcohol, sex, whatever your vice is, eating too much food. There's so many different things that we wind up getting addicted to in the world. And by letting go of these unhealthy habits, we improve our self-concept. We start saying the right things. We start thinking the right things. We start acting the way that we believe we need to act, or acting in accordance with who we truly are. We become more wholesome by being more aware of these feelings that we have and sitting with them, sitting with discomfort, sitting with unease, and practicing love for ourselves and holding space for ourselves, as though if a young child came up and said that they were feeling the kind of negative ways that you feel, that I feel, and consoling them and consoling these feelings that we have within ourselves and meditating on the idea of what it means to be us, we become better versions of ourselves. Through the process of cultivating our self-concept, we begin to understand that the different aspects of ourselves that pop up in different situations, that we have a hierarchy of needs. The reason that you're watching this video right now is because you value what I have to say more than you value clicking on another video. And so as this shifts and it gets to a point where you no longer want to watch this video and you'll go on to the next one, if that's what you value more. And we're constantly evaluating our decision-making process. And the key is to appreciate our decision-making process, because they're always our decisions. And we should always love the decisions that we make in the present moment. And if we're not, well, then we can live in accordance with what we have moving forward. By shifting what we value and making our subconscious decision-making process more conscious, then we get to make what we deem to be more valuable decisions and have a more accurate account of our mental process. Our minds like to take up as little space as possible just for the most important information that we have. We're constantly saving and deleting information that's necessary and unnecessary, and we just generalize everything. Guitars, right? Whether it be like you have a picture of a guitar in your mind now. It could be an acoustic guitar, now it could be an electric guitar, could have two necks, it could have one, but you just generalize when you think of one thing or another, and we tend to do that with ourselves. We tend to group people into categories and group ourselves in a certain way and describe ourselves with these qualities. And these qualities, when we pick them out, they become future-oriented. The moment that you start describing yourself one way, the world is going to start putting that pattern on you more and more, and you're going to recognize that happen until you just see these patterns happen and you get to assign that quality to it over and over again. And this could be creative, and you could think that this positive self-concept that you have, this positive quality of compassion, love, kindness, that could work in your favor. And then you'll go through more instances of you being compassionate, loving, kind, thinking the right way, acting the right way. Or it could be destructive, where you're operating against yourself. You have self-sabotage moments where you're not being loving towards yourself or others. And as these experiences continually happen to us and they continue to grow and feed forward into who we believe ourselves to be, we understand that this is who I am. And we come up with this belief. But these beliefs about the way that our neurons fire through our brains to communicate through our internal monologue and our imaging and our imagination, as we select and collect all of this data, is that these are just ideas that we have in our minds, when really we're not any of these ideas that we have. We just are that sense of I amness, that core sense of being that we have as souls, right? Animals don't have these concepts of this is who I am, right? They just are being as they are. And these patterns that we have that make ourselves believe these things continually pop up over and over again, and they reinforce these patterns to try to validate who we are. As if we couldn't validate who we are, well, then it'd be really confusing to try to string together the narrative of life. These limiting beliefs wind up growing as we tell ourselves that we're not worthy and we're not good enough of achieving the things that we want to achieve. And these enabling beliefs that, oh, I'm going to do it later, right? They wind up growing and growing until we put away these limiting beliefs and we realize that these are illusory beliefs. They're illusions. And we really start to step into the power that we have as people. As human beings, we're so infinite and so abundant. When we have a healthy self-concept where we're continually doing the right things and building upon our self-esteem, the positive qualities of that are it being accurate. We want an accurate self-concept. We want one that we know ourselves deeply to our core better than anyone else. And what comes with this is it being unconscious. We want to not even have to think about who we are. We just constantly operate at peak efficiency, and we're already programmed through NLP to be the best version of ourselves, right? That being said, our self-concept is also self-correcting, right? When we bring in new ideas that are in alignment with what we believe in, we integrate those into our self-concept, and we take all the ideas that are not in alignment, and we wind up working through it to make sure that we're really who we say that we are. And what comes with that is it being an interconnected idea. Who I believe myself to be is who others believe me to be. And they could see it, and it's out in the open, and there's no sense of separation between my idea of myself and other people's idea of me. When things go wrong and the world starts to not validate what your self-concept is, well, then your self-concept also needs to be durable. The fact that when you're growing into this new version of yourself, this higher version of yourself that's doing the right things and taking the right steps, when we hit these perceived obstacles and missteps, that we're still stumbling forward and we're not falling back into these negative patterns of who we used to believe ourselves to be. Based off of what we've already talked about, you probably have a good idea of some qualities that have come to mind about yourself. So take one of those qualities that you've already thought of. If you haven't, just take a second to pick one out. Now, whatever that quality is, how do you know that you're that quality? Do images appear for you? Sounds? Is there like a feeling around it? If you feel compassionate, you might feel that warm feeling of giving. You might come up with some ideas in your mind about times that you've been kind and generous to other people. You might hear your internal monologue telling yourself that you embody this quality, or you might put yourself in a situation so deeply that you hear other people telling you that you're that quality. Now, when it comes to that quality, how many examples of you embodying that quality pop up for you? And how do they pop up? Where do they pop up? Is it just in front of your face in your imagination? Is it somewhere in the left of your brain or the right of your brain? And when this pops up, if they're images, are they still images? Are they moving images? Are you experiencing yourself in first person? Are you experiencing yourself in third person? What size is this taking up in your HUD, right? In video games, you have the HUD where your health bar is located. You got magic sometimes. Sometimes it's your ammo. And this is all being represented in your own imagination. When we take these qualities and we have all this data that represents these qualities, this data isn't these qualities, but we assign qualities to the data itself. And now we can take this and edit it. And all the times where you were embodying that quality, well, if you remember seeing it in first person, can you change it to third person? If you only see still pictures, can you turn it into a movie? If you only see pictures one at a time, one after another, like a PowerPoint presentation or a slideshow, can you turn it into a collage and represent all of these different pieces of data at the same time? Now, taking all of that into account, what about the inverse? What about all the times that you didn't embody that quality? There's always counterexamples to all of this data that we have where we aren't kind and we aren't generous and we aren't compassionate. And even though we would describe ourselves as one of these qualities, we always have data to the contrary. Think about the times where you have these counterexamples to that specific quality that you thought that you embodied. And is that in a different part of your brain? Is that represented in a different area than the other examples were? If so, how does it feel when you integrate all of these examples of you doing this and not doing it? Does it make you feel better about yourself? Does it make you feel worse about yourself? It could do both. It depends on your own way of thinking. For some people, embodying the positive qualities and the negative qualities winds up strengthening your positive self-concept. And for other people, it winds up taking away from your positive self-concept. I want you to play around with what works best for you and work it out to where that quality, you feel like it's the most thoroughly embodied you possibly can by playing around with your imagination and bringing it into reality. And with all these examples that you can possibly pull up, how far back does it go? What's the earliest memory that you have of you embodying this quality? And how often are these qualities popping up? And how often is this data being represented for you? Is it an everyday thing? Is it once a week, a couple times a week? And how far back does it go? The frequency of the data, as well as the length of time that it's taken for you to understand it. The deeper that we can dig into not only the quantity of information that we have, but also the quality of it and how well we can represent it within our mind will improve our self-concept. Now, the examples that pop up for you, are they happening in real life? Are they real specific events that are happening? Or can you think of metaphors that represent this with analogies? Climbing to the top of a mountain represents challenge, represents overcoming obstacles, resilience, perseverance. But climbing a mountain isn't perseverance. It just is climbing a mountain until you assign it with these other qualities. You might have never climbed a mountain, but you could still picture somebody in your mind climbing a mountain. Maybe they got a backpack on. Maybe they're got a big beard. Maybe they got a pickaxe or something. Whatever qualities that we wind up popping up, there's an infinite amount of ways that our imagination can come up with these qualities, as well as you can embody these qualities that you see in yourself in other people. Your vibe attracts your tribe. You can come up with ideas about yourself, and most likely the people that you consider yourself to be the most like, you're going to be around. The location that we find ourselves in when we're thinking of these things, right? You might think of yourself as dependable in one area of your life, but not dependable in another area of your life. When you compartmentalize your life and you say, in this area, I'm like this, and then in another area, I don't have that quality. Are those two different ideas represented in the same portion of your brain? How does it feel to put them together? Now, when you remember yourself or picture yourself in these different environments, are there any distortions? Are you bigger than you actually are? Are you smaller than you actually are? I know that when I talk and I watch myself back on camera, my voice is a lot deeper than it is when I hear myself in my internal monologue. That's one way that my imagination winds up distorting the way that I view myself. all these different ways that we wind up portraying this content through the data of our imagination is really profound. And our imagination is all that there is. You don't see anything out in the world that is the way that it is. You see things out in the world as you perceive them through your own subjective experience. Now, when we look at these counterexamples of ways that we're not the way that we believe ourselves to be, and we're not living in alignment with our best self-concept, well, the beauty of our imagination and the way that it's represented in our mind is that we can gaslight ourselves. This is so cool. We could gaslight ourselves into believing that it happened in a better way than it did. If someone didn't treat you the right way and they were mean to you and you just wanted an apology, and, you know, I don't know about you, but there have been several times where I've wanted an apology from someone and they just didn't give it to me. And so I just decided to be the better person, the bigger person. Not better, but the bigger person. And walk away, forgive that person, and just imagine that they apologized to me. And I felt so much better and so much more relieved that you just imagine something to be better and you really feel it kinesthetically throughout your body. That feeling of that relief, that true forgiveness just comes through for you. Whatever those negative qualities pop up for you, that maybe you integrated it into your model, maybe you didn't integrate it into your model, but try your best to take all the examples in your database of you not living in harmony with your highest self and edit it and change it up and see if you can find a way to feel better about that information. Now that you've taken the time to figure out where you embody these qualities and where you don't embody these qualities and playing around with this data that you have, take a moment to look at how many examples that you have of just this one quality about yourself and the story that you've been telling yourself about your life based around this quality. Now, you can shrink down the examples of when you've been the most embodying of this quality, and you can blow it up to try to include all of the times where you've embodied this quality, even in the smallest bit. And you can take the time to take your whole life as far back as you could go and take your scope and just zoom all the way out and try to picture all the times across your entire life when you've embodied this quality and not embodied this quality, to see what the full narrative of it is as far back as you can imagine it. In a very similar way to how I edit these videos, and I take what I like and I take what I don't like and I move it around, play with it, right? It's like a cutting board. It's editing. It's mental editing. And it's the coolest thing because now there's a final product and it just looks so much better than it did when it was just the raw data and the clips that I took to get to this point where now I'm talking to you and I'm just talking to a camera, trying to figure out what I'm going to say and having fun with it. And it's so much more fun when I get it to be exactly what I want it to be. Now, let's think about a quality that you don't have, that you'd like to embody more. Would you like to be more loved? Would you like to feel more worthy? Would you like to feel more fulfilled? Let's delve into that. Now, taking this quality that you don't think that you quite totally embody, right? Is there any evidence that you embody this quality at all, right? If you want to be more worthy, right? Can you think of any other qualities to worthiness if you feel like you're unworthy? Do you feel like you're smart? Do you feel like you're caring? Whatever positive qualities that you have around a different area of the quality that you don't think that you quite have enough of. Let's look into examples of that. Let's identify some data and some examples of you embodying being caring, empathetic, kind, whatever quality suits you, that you want to take examples of that and plug it into your brand new version of your self-concept. Now, we're going to go back to these different modalities, right? What images do you have of you being kind or empathetic or whatever have you, right? And how could we put this in the same portion of your brain and program yourself to believe that you're now more worthy than ever, that you're more lovable than ever, right? So we take these new examples and we build together this new database to categorize into this new quality that we're making for you. Now that we have that, we also need to identify negation, right? What are areas of yourself and portions of your database that are coming up to where there's memories and experiences and examples that you have of you not being lovable, of you not being worthy. And let's sit with those and really process those and give yourself time to love those memories and to integrate them as valuable pieces of information that we can now process through. Now we have examples of you having this new quality. We have examples of you not having this new quality, and these are real examples. Now let's take the time to come up with some imaginary examples, right? What if someone that was really close to you in your mind was telling you that you are worthy and lovable? The person that you want more than anything in the world to tell you this. Maybe you need to go in the mirror and tell yourself this information. Maybe you need to imagine your parent, whether they are still here on this planet or not, and you need to imagine them and really hear their voice telling you that you embody this quality. And how does that make you feel? Try imagining different characters, your favorite characters from pop culture. Maybe it's an actor, maybe it's your favorite artist, maybe it's a cartoon character. Really play around with this. Have fun with it. Integrate the new you through this exercise. Now that we have this new database of information, take the time to sit with it. Don't think of too much about it, but just understand how your body's feeling now that you're starting to have these thought patterns arise. And how do you feel about building this new, better version of yourself? And once again, now that we're starting to build up this new concept of yourself, we want to make sure that this data is accurate, right? Do you feel any objections towards you being worthy and lovable still? And what pieces of data are you leaving out or not leaving out or not willing to acknowledge within yourself? Once we iron out all of the negative connotations and we understand how we're using that to build up the best version of ourselves, we get to love the negative data. Because as we learn to love the negative data and we really appreciate the fact that we've been through these experiences in order to build up a more durable self-concept to where we know that that's who we used to be. And now in the present moment, we've already taken the time to heal, and we're already healed. And we're free of this idea of self-importance, that we need to stay a certain way. Because when we're building up this new quality that we know that we're going to embody and become a better version of ourselves, we're not just doing it for us. We're doing it for the whole world. We're doing it to become more appreciative of one another and to be able to help one another in this growth process. And it's not necessarily going to be immediate, right? It might take a couple minutes or a couple hours, but as we work towards this in these exercises, we make this an unconscious pattern and we begin to see this new quality manifest itself in our day-to-day life. Well, thanks for taking the time to change your life. I hope you come back to this video, you save it, and you go over it again, because it's probably the most valuable video that you've ever seen. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and let's change lives. Let's do it. Let's become the best version of ourselves. I would love to know how this video has impacted you, if you're already feeling better about yourself, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your life with the way that your imagination is now representing your database, improving your qualities, and improving your concept of yourself. Until next time, take care.